we have is the camera guy who's going to show you how to make some rolls for a family meal while the shortcut chef is out gallivanting somewhere, walking his dogs, or I don't know, riding his bicycle or doing something. The camera guy is going to try to show you that everybody can cook, not just chefs. So what have I got? I've got a bag of rolls and I've got 4 plates. So you need 4 plates if you're going to feed 4 people. If you have more people, you need more plates. If you have less people, less plates. Now you'll see that one person gets toast, one person, the son, gets 2 big rolls, and then the daughter and myself, we each get 1 roll. Now we've had enough time looking at the plates, so let's get started. So what you'll see has happened here is the rolls have each been cut with a knife. That's a 1 roll meal. This is a 2 roll meal. Now the rolls have been cut with that knife, and you can see that plate is still empty because there's no roll on it. That's going to get a piece of toast on it. What's also happened now in the meantime is we've put out some ingredients. Now you don't have to put out all the ingredients at once, but you'll see I've put out some butter, margarine, some chilies, some mayo, and some pickled onions. There's not a lot of pickled onions left, but you don't need that many, especially when some people don't get them. Then some people like avo, and then we've got a cucumber and some baby spinach. And then inside the toaster, which you can't really see what's going on, is the toast that's busy toasting, but you can confirm that because the handle is down of the toaster. Right, so the next step is we're going to butter the rolls and wait for the toast to pop, and then we'll put some mayonnaise onto each of the rolls. So you see, this isn't tricky to do. I didn't have to make the rolls myself, but I did have to cut them, and you need to cut them sort of straight so that they're not sort of wrong. You don't want to cut the roll at the top too much or at the bottom too much. You want to be sort of in the middle of the roll. Okay, so next we'll do the buttering and wait for the toast to pop. Okay, so you'll see quite an interesting buttering technique here. You don't have to cover every part of the bread with the butter, but you do want the margarine to sort of be on the bread. You can't butter your rolls and have the butter off the inside of the rolls. And also, if you just make sure you butter the inside of the rolls rather than the outside, people are a little bit surprised if you put butter on the outside of the rolls and not the inside. So that's the rolls buttered there. We'll just do this last one quickly just to show you how that should be done. So you can just see there the rolls are. You can't really butter rolls with one hand, even if you are the cameraman. So we'll just put that down and end up buttering the top. The butter just brings a bit of moistness, I believe, to the rolls. And we'll do the same with a bit of mayonnaise. So you'll see we'll get the mayonnaise out. And once again, oh, there goes the toast. The toast has popped, so we'll have a look at that now. Once again, you don't want to put too much mayonnaise on, but then you don't want to put too little mayonnaise on. So I suppose it's quite an art, but once you've done it a few hundred times, you get used to that. Shortcut chef might want to tell you otherwise, but he's not around, and therefore we can sort of make this stuff up as we go along. Alright, so each of the rolls have now a bit of mayonnaise and a little bit of butter. And you can see there the roll is sort of soaking in the mayonnaise. Now, you don't have to cook them because rolls you don't cook. You get the toast out of the toaster. So if you have a look here, there comes the toast. Now the trick with toast is just to let it air a bit, otherwise it gets all damp and steamy. So what I've done here, you'll see I very cleverly built a bridge for the toast to go on, And then you can just leave it there for a minute or two whilst it airs out from both the bottom and the top. Now that's a good cooking trick, is to steam your toast between two plates whilst it cools so that you don't get soggy toast. The next thing we're going to do with the toast is we shall butter it. But let's just wait for it to cool a bit. Alright, so the toast is cooled. I'm going to just give it a little bit of butter. Now, the owner of the toast is not a big butter fan. She likes to have a little less butter than most, so we won't put too much on it. And then what we shall do is we shall put a little dollop of mayonnaise on it. Once again, she's not a huge big fan of lots of mayonnaise, so sometimes if you've got too much, if you find you've got too much, you just take it off and you can put it on another roll. The person who gets that roll is none the wiser. So what happens next is we bring a little bit of this avo paste, and we take a bit of the old avo paste and you can pop it on. She likes a little bit of avo on her toast, so there we go. Pop on the avo onto the toast, like so. So you can see now you've got a little bit of toast and butter or margarine, mayonnaise and avo. Now we do that on this roll as well. So the avo you can put on apparently quite thick and sort of really smash it in. We'll go from a bird's eye view in a minute, and we will put it onto these two rolls here as well. So let's just move that over. Now you can see it all mixes in nicely with the mayonnaise as well, and that then becomes a sort of an avo mayo treat, which is apparently quite unique for what we're doing. Okay, once again, be shy with the avo, just rub it all in nice and neatly. You don't want to get your hands in there because you don't really use your hands to mix in stuff when you're putting it onto a roll. That's another trick you've learnt, is you don't really have to get your hands deeply dug in. Right, we're now going to cut a little bit of cucumber and put our baby spinach onto the sandwiches. Alright, so what we've done now is we've taken a bit of rinsed off baby spinach and we've popped it on to each of the rolls or onto the toast. You'll see we're quite liberal with the baby spinach because it's quite good for you, so you should try and eat quite a lot of it, but you don't want its taste to overpower the rest of the ingredients, so you shouldn't put too much on, although you do want to put quite a lot on because yes, it's quite good for you. So that's how you should do your baby spinach. Now we're going to cut the cucumber, and the nice thing about the cucumber is that it holds down the baby spinach. So there's a tip here, is to put the cucumber on after the baby spinach. So let's cut the cucumber. You do need a sharp knife and you do need a cucumber. If you want to cut a cucumber, you actually do need. Always get rid of that sort of chunky part there. I don't know why, but I don't like it. But if you're going to cut a cucumber, the two things you need in order to do that is both a cucumber and a sharp knife. And you also want to make sure you peel the plastic off. You don't really want to put plastic into somebody's sandwich. They tend to get a little bit annoyed. I have found that from previous experience, that when you put a bit of plastic in somebody's food, it's not the best thing to do, especially not your own food. If you're cooking for yourself, it's probably not a good idea. Anyway, cucumber you want to try and cut as thin as possible, but often it breaks up like that, so it's not the best. So sometimes you just have to make do with thicker chunks. It's good for you as well, so I shouldn't worry too much about that. Right, then you can just take the cucumber, as I say. The good thing about the cucumber is that it presses down on the baby spinach, and that gives you a more sort of flattened baby spinach type of sandwich. Now the rolls, you just put sort of 3 in a row like that, and then you go into this one, and then you sort of put 3 in a row there. Now the good thing around making a sandwich, especially a roll, is that they don't really get to see the inside of it, so it doesn't have to be that tidy. And then this last one here, everybody gets cucumber, because cucumber is pretty innocuous, isn't it? I have cut a little bit extra. I wasn't really counting the pieces, so you can just put extra cucumber onto each person's roll. And then the trick here is just to use cucumber onto the rolls until you see you have no more cucumber that you've cut up left. If you've got leftover cut up cucumber, you just put it onto the roll until you've got no more left, and then that's a good job. Now this piece you can also just throw away, so you just put it there to the side and wait until you get to the dustbin. We've done the avo, so we'll put the avo to the side as well, and we are now going to do the tomatoes, which we haven't got yet. So we'll get the tomatoes from the fridge, and then we'll cut those up and pop them onto the rolls. But you can see they're starting to take shape now. You know, they're starting to look more like a lunch or a meal than, you know, perhaps just if you had an empty plate like we started with, or just a roll that hadn't yet been cut open. But not much color on these yet, so we're going to get some color on them. I think color is good. Right, so we have some tomatoes here, tomatoes. So they're just little baby ones here. So typically we just cut them in half. You can't really cut them further. If you are going to cut tomatoes, once again, you need a sharp knife and you need tomatoes. You probably just need hands to hold the tomato while you cut it in half. So we've got these tomatoes cut in half, and now what we will do is, you'll see, we just bring them and we start to arrange them nice and neatly. Whoops, you can see the camera there. Onto the toast, and now you see you've got some color going there. Let's just get the camera properly. Being a cameraman, a challenge here of having to both cook the meal. Right, there we go. Let's go into this roll here. You see, you just pop it gently. You don't want to smash it in. If you smash it in, you might end up with the entire sandwich going flying across the room, and you know, that's not the best approach to making a sandwich. Now this one, the owner of this one doesn't like tomatoes, so we don't put them on, but we put it onto the teenage son who's getting the 2 rolls, so he gets tomatoes. He typically eats just about everything that you throw his way. In fact, sometimes you see if he will eat something, put it on. There we go. Now you're getting a bit of color onto your food, which is always good. You want a little bit of color, and we can then just put that one there. So if you have a look now, once again, even more taking shape. We've got the rolls starting to become proper sandwiches. Okay, next I'm gonna go up. There's a little bit of pickled onions and a little bit of chilies, and then some cheese, and then we're going to put some protein on, and we'll leave you guessing for that. Once again, you take your trusty sharp knife, you take your pickled onion, and you give it a bit of a slicing up. Now, you don't want to cut your fingers, because people also, I've learned from experience, get very annoyed if there's blood on their sandwich, and that's always a problem. So what you do is you just take your pickled onions and you spread it onto the sandwich. There we go. You can then, if you're looking out for it, you can take some very little slices for the ladies who don't like to eat a lot of pickled onion. You pop just thin slivers onto the sandwich, so it's not too overpowering, and then that one doesn't get any. Whatever's left over, I find you can put on the teenage son sandwich, because they just really eat everything. So if you do have leftovers for somewhere, you can always just put them all on your teenage son sandwich, because they don't really take much notice of what they're eating, they just eat it. Okay, so that's the, now you can always just wipe your hands just to make sure that you're doing it properly. That's the pickled onions. We've got some brand new box of chilies here. So if you want to put chilies onto your sandwich, I find it's always good that you first open the bottle. You can't actually do much with a bottle that's not open. So typically I'll just use a teaspoon to get some chilies out. Not too many. Once again, if you do take too many out, you can put them on the son sandwich. He just eats them up, doesn't actually even notice it. Also find it good just to chop them up a little bit so that you can then sprinkle them onto the roll without too much trouble. Now the lady of the house, you don't want to put too many on, but she does like a little bit of flavour, so you just dollop a few onto the toast, which she has, just like that. The daughter doesn't eat them, so you go straight to the son, who you can, as I say, just throw all the rest of them onto the sandwich, because his taste buds just seem to enjoy whatever's put in front of him, as long as he hasn't made it himself, although he's getting better at making it. Maybe he will be a chef one day. Right, that's the chilies. Okay, wash your hands. You can't see that, but always good just to wash your hands. Right, if we have a look now, you can see as we pan over, this is camera world called sort of panning over, you can see definitely starting to take shape. That one still looks a bit bland, but that's how she likes it. A bit of beige food, as beige as possible, but the rest you've got the red sort of contrasting with the green, contrasting with the white mayonnaise, and we're going to get a little bit of chili sauce just now, but that's looking good. So next on the list, some cheese. We'll get that going. We've now got some nice mature cheddar. Actually like a strong mature cheddar cheese, none of this processed nonsense that people seem to find so tasty. You want a proper mature cheddar. As you can see, you can sort of slice it, reaches the end, it gets quite crumbly, and then what you have to do is just keep cutting until you can't cut anymore. I find that's the best technique. You also don't want to cut your fingers on this, which I actually nearly did there. So if they're quite chunky, I find you can break them up and then put them on the sandwiches. Once they're broken up, you can see some chunks of cheese can go onto the sandwich. Once again, if you put them on the toast, you want to just do a light layering of the cheese here so that the sinuses aren't overly impacted by dairy. Some people, unlike myself, have some dairy challenges. This one, she does like her cheese, so we can just get a little bit more on there, and the last two we can just pop on as we see fit. Got some big chunky bits there for the big guy to have his big sandwich. Now if you don't cut enough, I find it's always better then you just cut a bit more. It's not a train smash. If you feel that you haven't cut enough cheese, then what you do is you actually just get some more cheese out and you cut that as well, and then everybody's got enough cheese. So maybe we will just cut one or two more slices from the other box and take it from there. Right, there's just one extra slice there, just to put onto the sandwiches here. See, cheese is popular. I don't know who actually invented cheese, but it is a popular thing. This one here, this little lone roll, this needs to have a little bit more put on as well. Right, so once again, if we start to have a look here, We've now got a lot of ingredients on top. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a little bit of sauces and then some chicken. Yep, that's the protein. Then we're pretty much done. Just roll the chicken over to make sure that it's dead. You don't want a live chicken here. You certainly don't want it jumping off the table and running squawking down the road while you're trying to hack pieces of chicken flesh off it. So always make sure your chicken's dead before you cut it up. Otherwise it could be problematic. Right, it doesn't matter too much how you carve it, because once again we're going to go to the inside of the roll and then cover the roll with it. And you can choose the bits of chicken that you actually like to put on the various people's food. The drumstick sort of ends up going as one big chunky piece onto this plate here, because he likes a drumstick as well as a roll, so that's good. And then there are little pieces that you can take out and you can give to your helper. Oh, landed on her back. Okay, see, she tastes the chicken. She just makes sure that everything is fine, and then what you do is you can take that chicken and you can just sort of layer it on to the rolls. Now, once again, I don't think there's a huge art to this, but you do want to make sure that it doesn't fall off the rolls. So that's how you do those two. It's important just to always be aware of what's happening when you're cooking. I mean, the kitchen is a dangerous place, and so you do need to make sure that everybody is kept happy. And this one looks like she probably could do with a bit more chicken as well. Yes, indeed. All the sandwiches are about ready now. There's just one or two last touches. She still thinks that she could get more chicken even though she had some. Yeah, although none of the rolls are for her, much to her disappointment. I think she'll find that. And then you can see there's still some chicken left over. Now, what's a good idea is to keep what's left over for the next day, but you must put it in the fridge. So you put a lid on this thing, pop it in the fridge, and then you've got a meal for the next day. The chicken looks like it has been attacked a bit, but it's not a problem because it still tastes exactly like it would have if it was cut neatly. Okay, and you can see there's a little bit of mess here. We've still got the knife, but we're going to clean that up just now. But all in all, the workspace is starting to take shape. The rolls are starting to look edible, and we're going to put a little bit of chili sauce and sriracha sauce onto each of them, or onto some of them, and then we're pretty much done. As you can see, the sandwiches are done. A little bit of what we call sriracha sauce on that one. This one has got drizzled with chili sauce. That's the official cooking name, drizzled with chili sauce. This one still looks pretty bland, but that's how she likes it, so that's how we make it. And then the teenage boy, he's got all sorts of things on here, but as I say, it doesn't really matter what you put on his sandwich, he just eats whatever's on it. So but that's it. And then we just clean that up, and that's how you make sandwiches for lunch. From the camera guy, not the shortcut chef. He would have done something fancier, but this is how you do it if you're the camera guy.